on with the program. Okay, let me take this time to welcome everybody. And then as we progress along, by now, most of you have submitted probably some form of a first draft to your respective supervisors and received some feedback, giving you a picture of where some of the ideas are going towards, areas that need improvement. Yeah, so what I wanted to do, I wanted to use this platform to do two things. At about past, there are some two students who are going to join when we are ending our meeting, and I'll just give them a chance for them to speak because they've just completed the feedback process with the Department of Business Management. And for some of them, it was it's not usual. It doesn't always go well in the first round. You get feedback, and the idea is about getting feedback that helps you to improve the work. So I'm not too bothered by delays. Let's say if the department says no, go and redo this again, go and change a few things. That's part of the process. So you will notice that even as I work on the scale, the measuring instrument for the study, those are also some of the things that will feature as we work. What I wanted to show you, some of the feedback comments that the students got, so that it also gives you a picture why we keep on wanting you to improve certain things around your work, because this is how it works. And I want to clarify this because this is important. I would like all of you at least to complete the 2 milestones. There are 3 milestones for this year. Number 1, present at the department. Number 2, obviously present with success. You then go to the next stage, present at the faculty. After presenting at the faculty, apply for ethical clearance. And then the 4th thing, obviously, we're going to start hopefully data collection right at the end of the year. Ideally, once you've presented at the faculty, I'm happy that you've completed those 2 milestones. Now, what does presenting mean? Presenting simply means in the respective departments. Some of you, I did invite you to the different colloquiums, the business management one. You are given 10 minutes to present your idea. And then after the 10 minutes, you are then asked questions. So different colleagues in the department look at different questions. So these are some of the things that I thought would help you. This is for one of the other students who will join us just now. And some of the feedback, I'm interested in the feedback. So as I give this feedback, I want you to think about it in the light of the work that you are doing. And now where we are, it's also a matter of you now owning up the project. It's no longer saying, what should I do? What theory should I do? It's about you reading up and saying, okay, I've read up the proposal. I see that we are using the theory of reasoned action. I see that we are using something model similar to the technology acceptance model or the UTAUT. And those are logical answers that come from scholarly work. So it's not a matter of always wanting to say, what should I do? What should I do? It's a matter of saying, I want to be able to be in a position where I can justify whatever idea I have to be beneficial to the project. So there is a colleague that will look at the introduction. In the introduction, they look at the title. In the title, we avoid duplication. We want the title to be clear. We don't want the title to be too wordy. And by too wordy, we mean there are too many words that are there, but we wanted to actually say what exactly is the student measuring. There was also a comment, the candidate should try not to provide definition in the introduction. I agree with that. remember, this is a proposal. You will have enough time to define a lot of the concepts in depth in the literature chapters. Right now, what we just want you to do, get straight to the point, present your idea. What is the problem statement? And sometimes the problem statement gets trapped in people trying to find definitions and so forth. Just get straight to the point. I'm going to show you again Miriam Goon's proposal, which I think was a very good example of this, even this other one that we're going to have. There's a need for you to group the concepts together. By grouping the concepts together, what we're talking about is really seeking to understand what the major issues are with regard to the work. Remember the model. That's your guidance. Your model is going to tell you what literature you're going to consult, what literature you're not going to consult. So the parameters of what you're going to do are in that model that you're testing. The problem statement, again, we said to you the last time that this must not be too long. I think a maximum of a page. One thing that all of us in the proposals that I reviewed that we failed to harp on a little bit about is the HDI context, particularly the master's student. One of the things that you must emphasize on with literature support one of the things that you must emphasize upon with literature support is the HDI context. You are trying to understand system utilization within an HDI context. And in understanding system utilization within an HDI context, don't shy away, but don't also make sweeping statements about that HDI context without providing support of where those statements are coming from. So don't shy away from that. Remember, the objectives and the hypothesis have been formulated for you. The literature, again, this is determined by the model that you're testing. So you've got two models. The first, the two literatures, sorry, the theoretical literature where you must cover at least two theories related to your work. At master's level, that's deemed fine. At PhD level, you can use 3 theories. And then you then have straight after that, a build up into the empirical literature. So what do we mean by empirical literature? We simply mean for each and every hypothesis that you have in your model, you must present literature that is linked to that hypothesis. That's what we call conceptualization. If the hypothesis reads that when it's cold, people put on warm clothes, therefore, the lower the temperatures, the more the warm clothes people put on. Before that hypothesis, there must be literature that explains that hypothesis. And that logical buildup is called conceptualization. If we don't see the conceptualization, it will be very difficult to believe what you are working on. And then at the end, you draw a nice diagram, in this case, which we've called the model to the study. And I've got no problems with that. And I actually think it's a good idea for us to have a nice model that links to what the study is about. And for the master's students, you do have a model or some form of a framework of what you are currently working on. So this is the encouragement I want to give, that whatever we are doing right now in the literature section of the proposal, we're just going to repeat the process at a more larger scale and more wider scale. So this is good practice for your literature chapters. So you need to get into the habit of, and I did give you some recent literature sources. I mean, we can't still be citing sources from 2002, 2001. That will always be raised as an issue within the presentations that you're going to have. What I'm going to pay attention to And then I see Nandi has joined, and then Miriam will join, and then I want them to share their experiences to you guys of what, as students, of what they went through. I want to talk about the methodology section so that I can answer a few questions that people have there. Okay, so with the exception of Floyd and Samuel, let's talk to the master's students. Maybe some of this will even be relevant to Floyd and Samuel as well, we'll see. So the methodology section is split up into sections, methodology and research design, as we like to call it. It's just a way of saying, this is the plan that we're going to follow in how we are going to do the research. And the plan is basically presented in the format of your research philosophy or paradigm. There are three types of paradigms: positivism, interpretivism, and pragmatism. Pragmatism simply means it's in between, a combination of both. Positivism is mostly used when we are working with surveys, and the master's students to this project, you're all working on a survey. So you're all covered within the explanation of positivism. You don't have to go in-depth explanation. Positivism is this, positivism, just a statement. The adopted research paradigm for this study will be the positivist. So please note the difference. Positivism is speaking to the philosophy. The positivist is speaking specifically to the paradigm. It's the same concept, but you can't say you're using the positivism. You can't limit yourself to say I'm using positivism and positivist. It's more or less the same thing. So positivism is what we are using. After the discussion of the paradigm, there's a discussion of the approach. Like the previous explanation, we've got three types of approaches, like three types of paradigms: quantitative, qualitative, mixed method. All of us on this project have got one paradigm and one approach that we are using. So either you are quants or qual. You're not using any mixed method or the pragmatist paradigm. So the mixed method approach is really not covered in the realm of what we are covering here. And then what are we using? You are using a quantitative approach because you're using a survey. So you just explain why are you using a quantitative approach, and that literature is used in the, is there in the on journal articles, even in books. Ideally, what we are trying to do is to test a model or understand the experiences that are within that model using a large sample of people. Now, what do we mean by large sample of people? I'm going to explain how we come about this large sample of people. So that covers the design, the paradigm, the approach, and the next thing that we cover is called the design. Two designs can work here. The most common type of design, which would be the descriptive exploratory design or the cross-sectional design. So you're using quantitative, you can either say you're using a mixed, a descriptive exploratory, or you can say a cross-sectional design or cross-sectional research design. And I'm going to explain how it is cross-sectional. So now, the next question, how exactly are we going to collect this data? Well, how we're going to collect this data, remember the project is about the usage, particularly the master's students. The project is about the usage of high-performance computing systems within historically disadvantaged institutions. So what we are doing is we are going to be using a web survey. We're going to create a web survey. Why are we using a web survey? Well, most researchers now have started using online methods of data collection because of the challenges of the pandemic. In the past, it would have meant that we would have paid for you to go to each of the institutions and collected the data. So what we're going to do is to use a web survey and then put the web survey online. And when we put it online, we then send the link to the participating institutions. The participating institutions to the study are known as historically disadvantaged institutions, HDIs, Fort Hare, WUSU, UWC, UniZulu, Venda, Limpopo, okay? And then that survey will then be sent to staff and students within those institutions. So in your survey, in your description of the data collection approach, web survey, which will be distributed to all the, as a link to the staff and students within the historically disadvantaged institutions. And that's how we are collecting the data. So the next thing that we can talk about is the population. How many people are there? Well, a simple statistical analysis here can help, because what we can do is there are websites. There are websites that we have, and this is something I'm still looking into. In fact, we can even just say Google, and then we say HEMIS, and then we say historically disadvantaged institutions. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is something maybe you guys can liaise amongst yourself, I'm going to send you a couple of documents. In those documents, these documents would have something called the HEMIS data. HEMIS is really this fancy way of data collection that is often used in higher education institutions in South Africa. So in those documents, they would actually have a breakdown and a split of the total number of people that are there in the institutions. It's also, we are trying to find this out. So please just bear with us. I'm still trying to find out the exact number of how we can go about that, but I will be sending that. But what I wanted to show you is something called Raysoft. Something called the sample size calculator by Raysoft. And once we know the number, I want you to check this out. It's a website that's there, but you have to then just be patient a little bit, because I have to write a few emails. So this is the website which says, with a 5% margin of error, a confidence level of 95%, suppose we find out the total number of students in HDIs probably gets to the amount of, for argument's sake, let's say 15,000, which I don't think is an accurate number, but it's still fine. So if it's 15,000, it simply means our sample size must be 375. We need a minimum of 375. Now, the difficult part about all of these calculations is that this is 15,000 from one institution. So depending on how we're going to go about it, it simply means that we need to be very careful that we don't overgeneralize. That's where I am inclining myself to say to the students, to say, what we are using is a non-probability sampling approach using a technique called a convenience sample. We're only going to access those students who are most available to fill out our survey. Now, if you ask me, we do get surveys that get sent out at Fort Hare all the time. Somebody sends a survey and says, please find my survey. I'm doing a study on A, B, C, and D. Not many people respond to those surveys. And that's exactly the same scenario that we're going to be caught up in. That sometimes the reason for not responding have got nothing to do with the survey itself. People don't have time. So in most cases, please bear with us here. We are probably going to just incline ourselves to a non-probability sampling approach, relying on a convenience sample. Convenience in the sense that this is the most accessible sample that we have based on the situation that we're in, which is a situation really of saying not many students and staff will be available, readily available to fill out the survey. Then the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which I'm currently busy, which I can show you as well, is the measuring instrument. So by Wednesday, you are all going to get a document from me, and the document is going to look something like this. It's going to have two tables. The first table is the scale for the specific student. In this case, the ones in yellow are the ones for Tinashe, perceived career benefit, perceived career risk, perceived effort. And what I've done is I'll color code them. So as I go on, I'm going to color code and see how it goes. For Kanyisa, I've put them in red as well, and I've put the color. These are the ones that you would call the independent variables of your study. And I've also told you where the sources are, but you'll notice I also put a number under each and every one of those scales. This number, please read up on this, is called the Cronbach alpha coefficient. In your proposal, there should be a section where you talk about reliability and validity. One way in which we can measure these elements of reliability and validity is through this alpha coefficient, which is called the Cronbach alpha coefficient. A couple of years ago, Nunali, Bernstein, and all these guys then said, okay, for us to know whether a scale is meeting the sufficient remit of what the threshold is, we need to have a threshold, and the threshold that they gave was a threshold of 0.7. So you'll notice most of the Cronbach alphas that are appearing below the scales that you're using will be above 0.7. And that tells us that the scales that we're using, yes, we are going to adapt them. Yes, we're going to test the scale and a pilot test with a similar sample of students at Fort Hare, just to make sure if there are any confusions, but ideally and traditionally, because of these sources of references that we have, these scales have sufficient ratings of reliability and validity. And so what you'll also notice, so by the end of the week, you'll see all of the scales for everybody, the master students, the PhD students, we can talk later. So these are the scales specific for which will be called basically the independent variable. Let's write it there so that people don't get confused. So I'm going to do the ones for Karen and also for Sandisi. And then what you'll then notice at the bottom will be the scales for everybody. These are the scales that are common to everybody. So for instance, we've got a scale called intention to use high performance computing system. And then we've got an example item, we've got a source there, and I'm going to put the alpha there. So those will be the items that you put for the scale. At the bottom of this, I will then put all the full scales of what it looks like. So for Tinashe, this is what your perceived career benefit scale looks like, perceived risks look like, perceived effort, and so forth. So this is still a work in progress, hopefully to finish it by Wednesday. Okay, we're almost there. Let's see what else do we still have to cover. Okay, I don't see Miriam here. Okay, then the next thing that we need to cover is the instrument, or this part of the instrument. We've spoken about it, reliability. Data analysis, I'm going to show you as we go through what's Nandi or Miriam's work. But one of the things that we need to talk about is ethics. So things have changed. So let's put this up again so that you can see it properly. So things have changed, and one of the changes that have happened is COVID has happened. Because of COVID, we've had to try and be careful how we approach aspects related to data collection. Okay. So all of us in our ethical section, we must mention the following. We must mention, in the past, we would say we're going to apply for ethics through the University of Fort Hare Research Ethics Committee. We are no longer doing that. We are going to apply for ethics through the Inter-Faculty Research Ethics Committee. So the name of the ethics committee has changed to IFREC, not UREC. So please make a note of that. The video will be available, so you'll be able to follow. Please make a note, all of us, that one of the things we must mention in the ethics section is we will make ethical clearance application through a body called IFREC, the Inter-Faculty Research Ethics Committee. We also need to talk about issues related to ethics, particularly now that we are living in the era of the POPI Act, the Personal Protection of Personal Information, something along those lines. The POPI Act has come into effect. That means that we must also be careful where we are handling data which involves people's names and addresses. So how does this affect us? In your data collection process, you must mention, particularly the master's students, that the web survey and permission to conduct the research will be sent and administered through the registrars of the participating historically disadvantaged institutions. So we are not going to rely on individuals per se. We're going to use official university channels. So the registrars of those institutions will be sent a link requesting that the link be distributed to the staff and students at the relevant institutions. So we must mention that, and we must be clear. And this is policy that's also happening within our institution, where we get people who are working on documents and so forth, sending it officially through the registrar, and the registrar's office then helps in making sure that that information is not only distributed, but it becomes an important central part of the way in which information is distributed. Because what we want to do is to show that we are also respecting requirements and policies and laws that may be institutional. We're not just doing things our own way, but we're working with the official requirements that are there in the different institutions where the project is based. Please, let's remember that, and we'll always be there to clarify. It's a group project, and that's why one of the things I will be doing is to try and make sure that the survey is not too long. Because if the survey becomes too long, what we're doing in the survey is that we're just going to put everybody's items in the survey, and then you are then able to later on when we do the analysis to be able to differentiate. So ideally, the items of the survey must not be too long so that it doesn't discourage people from filling out the survey. Delimitations is another section that I felt we needed to explain, as it was not well understood. In the delimitation stage, whenever we are faced with this stage, what we are saying here is that what are the other factors that are affecting your research that you are not measuring, that you would like to just acknowledge as important, but you're not measuring? So some of the factors that we're talking about here could actually be the organizational culture, okay? So how high performance computing systems are used in institutions of higher learning is also dependent on the attitude of the institution of higher learning towards the utilization of high performance computing systems. That's the organizational culture. So the other thing that is important here could be also the amount of preparedness that the institution puts in towards the institutional culture or towards the preparedness towards technology amongst members of its university? How much computer training is given towards aspects related to computer training, particularly for students? We can look at resources. Attitude towards high performance computing systems is also influenced by the resources that are available. What are the resources that are there, and how are they effectively being used? So think of factors that you are not measuring that are part and parcel of the research that you are doing, and these then form a part of the delimitations. The significance of the study is argued on 4 fronts. The first one, it's policy, research, which is what you're doing, and also practice. So as you work on the significance, you need to ask yourself, what do we know about policy that is related to the research that we are doing? Particularly policy such as equality, access, you can mention it, systems utilization, investments that are being made by government to develop HDIs. So when you discuss the significance of the study, think of policy, think of its implication, think of what the study is going to do. If we can find out the challenges that are being faced within HDIs that are limiting the full utilization of HPC, I think from a policy point of view, this study will help people like from the CSIR to actually formulate better policies. Practice, think of practitioners within the university space. Think of practitioners also cross-cutting, and this is the interesting one. Policy covers government, but policy can also cover people such as the CSIR, but the CSIR are also covered through the remit of practitioners as well, because they are the ones who are investing also the technology in these institutions. And then we also have, obviously, theoretically, which is the practice side, the theory side, which is the model that you're testing. A thing that everybody now must be aware of, which happens, and I think I'll give Nandi just now to speak, is there's a lot of attention towards references. You know, references are now a big thing. And now references must include the DOI. So it simply means that I'm going to show you an example, that the new APA has got certain rules. I want to show you a paper. Let's just pick a paper from SAGEM. And then when we pick this paper on SAGEM, I'm going to put it up on the screen. And I'm going to show you. So I will not lie to you. There will be people who check your references. So if you're not formatting your references correctly, or if you're just doing it the way you want, it's going to delay your progress. That's all I have to say. It's going to delay your progress. So what we're going to do, this is the last thing, and then I'm going to do this. Oh yeah, and then talk about the analysis stage, sorry, and talk about the analysis stage. So what I want to show you are references. So what we do is, I have to minimize this and then say share, and then I say share this screen. Okay, so this is an example of a paper which is in the South African Journal of Information Management. This is the title, these are the authors. Importantly, there's this number here. This is called the DOI. The new APA format requires that the DOI needs to be cited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the reference, particularly for books. And then I'm going to get out of the screen and then go into a Word screen. And then I'm going to go File, Share, and then I'm going to pull up the the screen with this, and then that comes out, and then there we go. So yeah, so that's that article that you see. So surname is what we work with. So it will be TSUURA, comma, the first name, Godfrey, full stop, symbol and, first name, last name, Gulube, comma, first name, Patrick, opening bracket, 2021, close the bracket, full stop. The title of the paper comes next. So we push it here, format it, next, full stop. The title of the journal, South African Journal of Information Management, comma, the volume of the journal, volume 23, bracket, issue 1, close the bracket, comma, page number. Now, some journals will tell you the page number. Other journals won't tell you the page number. So if they don't tell you the page number, this is what you do. Go to the journal, open the journal, open it up. And then when you open it up, and then I'm going to share it with you. Let's share the screen again so that you can have a look. There we've shared the screen. Okay, so have a look. It even tells us right at the top, page 1 of 9. So it's 9 pages. So stop share, share screen again, go back there, share screen, we are there. So it's page 129, full stop. However, because it's the new format, the DOI must be cited. There are 2 ways of citing the DOI. You can copy the link. Paste the link, and then when you do that, obviously remember, because it's a journal, the title of the journal is italic. Okay, then let's remove the unwanted texting here. Times New Roman, 12 point, remove that. And this is how it should look. Okay, so the new APA format in at this colloquium, they were checking the DOI needs to be cited. Remember, the DOI is only cited for journals. Okay, so for books, we don't need the DOI, but it must be cited, and we can't re-emphasize that. Right, so the last thing I want to show you. So Prof, what do we do with the data analysis stage? Well, in fact, because she's here, let me, while I prepare this, Nandi, you went through the stage of presenting at the colloquium. What are some of the tips that you can offer your fellow students who are also preparing to be presenting in terms of, so Nandi went and presented and she got a 2. So a 2 simply means that to the satisfaction of your supervisor, make some changes. And then after you've made those changes, you're then welcome to then go and present. So she hopefully will be presenting to the faculty mid-August.
Okay, thank you, Prof, and good evening, everyone. So I did the presentation. All I can say is that you need to make sure that you are 1000% prepared. Have your slides prepared. It was my very first department colloquium. As a result, I was not sure whether I should share the slides or not. So I think going forward, I'll definitely share the slides because it makes it easier for you to go through the presentation and with everyone, not focusing on the work that you sent, but actually focusing on the slides that you've prepared. Yeah, I think just preparation and then you'll be fine. As for the comments that you're given there, just take the comments that you are being given, and then they advise that when the panel is talking, when the panel is busy, is commenting on your work, the best thing is to listen and just thank them for their input and let them know that you're going to take them into account. And yes, I think that's just about it. For me, I was very nervous because it was my first presentation, but I think with preparation and yeah, I think just preparation, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's just do one last thing. I before just 5 minutes we're done, and then I can release everybody. Let's go through it one more time, and I think we went through it, but I'm going to show you again. This was Nandi's proposal that she presented to the department. Have a look at the proposal and how it stands. You know, there are things that should just stand, as I believe. Just, you know, it shouldn't be a mission. We can see your idea there. There's a difference between a main heading and a subheading. Your theme covers the whole page. You know, just the presentation and the layout, the qualification you're studying in, the department that you're studying in, your supervisor is there, the official table of contents. I think this is something that we've managed to all get in terms of that needs to be done. Perfectly fine. There's a distinction between what is in the proposal here, the main headings and the subheadings in terms of the numbering, which is used there. The literature, look at what she's done with the empirical literature. She's organized the headings of the literature she's organized the headings of her literature according to her model. But someone was putting the direction of the hypothesis. No, we don't want that. We just want the constructs that you're measuring. Is it perceived? Is it cybersecurity and attitude towards whatever HPC? Is it perceived career benefit? Is it attitude influencing intention? Is it normative versus influencing perceived availability? You know, you put all of that together. You put it all together as one construct together. Hold on. The next thing, the methodology and the headings are there in terms of what she's using to measure the constructs to her study, clearly articulated. The ethical consideration, the thing that we need to add there is more emphasis on issues of the POPI Act, that we are going to be respecting the Personal Protection of Information Act. I will have to find out how to properly say that. And then your chapter outlines your delimitations of the study. Nandi, with your permission, and because these guys are doing something totally different to your work, they are looking at computer systems. I would love to also share the writing. This is by far now the lovely stuff that we all must be doing. We do not put statements at this level that are not substantiated by facts. Okay, I need to say this. I need to say this. Please, please, please get into the habit of referencing. Get into the habit of writing short sentences, precise, you know, and they do check those things to see how well we are doing in that regard. So look at, let me not even read, look at the quality of the sources, a fair balance between 2020 sources, 2021. Only in the theoretical section will I possibly try and understand your usage of old literature sources. Please, please make sure that you are using recent literature sources and you're able to justify that within the literature. Also, every sentence should have meaning. Okay, we just don't put things of saying, I want to arrive so that at least I can say to my supervisors, well, I did submit a document which was 30 pages long. No, every sentence must have meaning. And there's another video I've recorded and I've sent it to students on how to self-correct your work. Get into the habit of self-correcting your work. Don't just wait for the supervisor to submit work. And the other thing, which is evident, is if you are leaving your work too late, to the last minute, it's gonna show. It's gonna show. One of the things I want, especially for you guys to do after you've presented and defended, then you can come to me and say, I've got a claim, I want to buy A, B, C, and D. I want that, because part and parcel of the things we want to do here, we don't want to just give you all of these resources and all of this funding for you just to sit and not work. Work hard for it. And we've spoken to that. We've spoken to that the aim, guys, is to do the hard work of the first year, because this hard work is going to influence how you write your literature chapters, how you write your methodology chapters. The rules that we are trying to get you to adhere to are going to become evident there. And we want you to get that clear. There is no point in you going to go and get an old literature source when we've told you, go and register with the library, which I hope you've done. You can access off-campus access. Resources were given to you. So we must get into the habit. If you are leaving this too late, it's going to show. And the concern that I've got is that ideally the danger with projects like this is that, especially for the master's student, we should all be traveling at the same pace, so that when we're now starting data collection, we all know, because the questionnaire, the big questionnaire that we're going to create, is going to have everybody's constructs on it. So I want us to really realize that it's not just you letting yourself down, but you will be actually letting the entire team down. And that's what we've wanted to do from day one when we started this project, to emphasize that we are a team and we must be working together to achieve those objectives. So have a look, short sentences, and the rule is really breathe, mainly because breathe. And you can actually see, once you start doing that, references are recent literature sources, and the departments love it. And there's nothing that frustrates members of a department colloquium than to see a student who is talking about a topic that is so recent and so informative, like this topic, and they're using old literature sources. And I think that becomes also a little bit problematic. And so statement of the problem is clear. And remember, locate your statement of the problem in the context that you're working with. Nothing stops you. Can I show you something? Nothing stops you. Someone will say, but where do we get literature? And I'm not going to do what I did the first time around in helping you guys get literature. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to show you little tricks that you can use. Here's a little trick. Let's minimize. Let's share the screen. So where do we get literature on HDI? Well, here's a little trick. So I go to SAGM, any website run by AOSIS, sagm.co.za. There. SAGM has got two ways of searching. The first is here, that allows you to search inside the journal. And the second is here, that allows you to search within the complete library of data of journals that they have. So I will type here historically disadvantaged, and then I'll press enter. It searches through the mine of articles that are there. There's one there, evaluating transformation progress as okay. So we're going to open a couple of these articles, and then you can have a look. Here's another one by Professor Oni, which is historically disadvantaged institutions. Open a couple of them. Remember, what you're looking for is not really a lot of information to just Black economic empowerment, teachers. You're just looking for enough basis to justify the location of your study. If you like, you could even say, let's go back here. Let's go to the articles that are there. This is an article by Prof. Oni from here and Mavuyangwa. The entrepreneurial intentions of students in different faculties at HDIs are not known and are not measured. Here's a good entry point. He is arguing that we don't know much about student behaviors around entrepreneurship. The truth can also be extended towards usage of HPC. And the question is, so why would we be concerned about HDIs? Well, it's like saying in a country like South Africa that we don't know the stories of Black women who are struggling in corporate sector. Well, we need to know their stories because of a few things. The policy imperative of transformation. Now listen to the significance and the novelty of the knowledge on across, in addition, the studies on from underexplored. The study recommends focus on students from HDIs. Why should we focus on students from HDIs? They are usually an underexplored sample base. You know, much of the theorizing is centered around more urban setting type of forms of students. And so what we need to be doing is to create, and I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to go and download information about HDIs for you. You need to go and find it for yourself. Finally, because we're running out of time, let's share with you quickly the objectives. The objectives, as we have said, they need to be similar to the model that you have, and a lot of you did well there. The hypothesis, we've spoken about that. Significant policy, practice, theory. Policy, practice, theory. Those must be covered. The theories, the master's students, you need 2 theories. And sometimes, please don't ask me what theory I should use. Sometimes if you go and read a similar study that has looked at constructs that are similar to your constructs, the theory will be there. It's the same theory, UTAUT or technology acceptance. So before you ask, just double check with the different papers that you're reading is to see if it's there. The one thing I want to show you before you go, particularly for the master's students, is let's go here.
Sorry, Prof, the screen sharing is not showing on my side. I don't know if I'm the only one being affected.
All right, let me do it again. Sometimes when you move across, it doesn't show. So what I'm going to do is let me try again. Okay, there we go. It should start showing now. The data analysis section, that's what I'm going to try and explain to you. This is a good example of how we're going to analyze the data. You don't have to understand how the analysis will work, but there are some things that you can mention. Number one, tell us the software that you're going to use, you'll be using. She mentions that she's going to be using the SPSS version 25. Tell us also what type of questions, data that you have. She's got numeric data, which is going to be measured through tests of reliability, validity. You can even mention regression and correlation tests. That's what basically the study is about. Or even the third thing you can mention, structural, and I'm not going to explain this, you have to go and read it, structural equation modeling, SEM. Remember, it's just a technique that's just used to test a model, okay, a structural model. The master students and Floyd and Samuel, maybe you guys have got models, okay? You are testing that model. So in testing the model, the best model to use is called SEM, structural equation modeling. Please, you don't have to explain what is it, what are its benefits. You can do that in the methodology chapter. Get straight to the point. Why do we use structural equation modeling? It's really used when there are structural models that we are needing to be tested. And even here's another little trick. Just go and check on the website of SAGIM, or just type the word structural equation modeling. It will be able to actually show you the different types of tests that are there with regard to structural equation modeling. Any questions, colleagues? So where we are now, last thing for me, where we are now. Now, you've had first round of feedback. You need to make those changes. You now need to start working towards, okay, maybe August, I may not make it, but August, I should be able to present to the department so that in September, maybe we could even say, let's have our own internal colloquium in August as a department, but that will not replace the departmental one. And then we'll say, okay, September, we go to present at department and at faculty. So it's something we can put on the table. I'll invite some colleagues to come around the table, probably sometime mid-August there, get you to come and present, get feedback, or if you're ready, you think you're ready, you can present at departmental level. We go through it, we get feedback. And remember, the aim really is to say, you know what you want to do. You are certain of the reason why this research is important. You are certain of what stats you're going to use. You're certain of what analytical methods you're going to work with. And that's where you're now at a stage where we can say, yes, this person is now ready. And the sooner we do that, the better, because yeah, we'll be able to do other nice things like apply for ethics, sign out your claim forms, you know, start putting out the survey. I would love this survey to go out to the institutions between October, November, October, until March, April next year. So that when you register for the second year, you've got data ready, data is analyzed, and you just use the rest of the year in your new registration to be able to write and be able to work with what we've got. So any questions or comments? We're almost done anyway, Sandisiwe, I think, oh, it was about the screen. Okay, it's fine, it's sorted now. Any questions, guys, about the comments? And yeah, so this has to be a penultimate month, eh? We must work our off this month. We really, really must work so that we've got at least something to show for, and we get people start going to present at the different committees that are there. And so what I'm going to send to you on Wednesday is a document that will have all the scales. So that will answer the part, what scales are we going to use? In fact, you will be able to actually know all your scales based on the models that we're having. Okay, no questions.
I don't think there's any real questions from us, Prof. I think because you're always uploading the videos, it always gives us a chance to go back and review if there's any real issues that we have at the moment. You see,
Sure.
I think our biggest thing is trying to get this proposal done and out. And like,
yeah,
I know that's like our main focus and our main headache is that.
And you're right, Floyd. The exciting thing about getting the proposal done is this. You will then have the necessary skills to be able to deal with the other parts, like your literature review. If you're struggling now, perfectly fine. I've got no problem with that. But I've got a problem if you're struggling now, and I keep telling you, don't use old literature. This is not how you write. Sort this out, sort this out. It's not going to get any better because you still have probably 3 literature chapters to write for the master's student. I foresee a chapter on HDI as an introduction. I see another chapter on the theories, and I see another chapter on the empirical part. And you know what lazy students will end up doing? because it's repetition, they'll end up just to go and cut and paste. That is a form of plagiarism, which is called self-plagiarism. And so the point is, all of this is for a purpose. And the purpose is to make you that damn brilliant writer, or for the other outstanding chapter. So when you walk on that stage, you know it was worth each and every moment. But you are not going to do this if you're only leaving this too late. I need to be very honest about that. If you're only leaving it to when the deadline is 1 week away, I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to struggle. And the more you struggle, it's really, really just going to affect your progress on the project. And yeah, I never envisaged that when we wrote all of this and the funder 3-year grant, we would have strugglers. I didn't sign up to be with strugglers. I signed up to be with people who are going to learn and who are going to do their best. So let's do that, please. Let's not leave this too late. Take time off work if you're working. Find a place where you can just get some work done every day. Just do something. Learn the art, learn the skills of academic writing, and it will work out in the end. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay,
I don't think so, Prof.
So what I'll do is I'll send the video and I'll also send the proposal. And with your permission, Nandi, none of these guys are doing anything similar to you, but I just want them to see the writing style, the standard which we want people to be at.
Okay, no, that's
All
fine
right.
with me, Prof.
All right. So I was supposed to have a meeting with Nandi and Miriam. Miriam hasn't joined. So the others, you can log off, and we need to now change. One of the things that we need to make changes to the change. In fact, let's do this because we're recording a video. Let me end the meeting, and then Nandi, maybe at 2 minutes time, you can log in again.
All right, Prof. Will do.
Okay. All right, guys, all the best. Keep pushing, and yeah, let's make progress. Thanks.
Thanks, Prof. Stay safe.
Right.